Welcome back. If you missed my last lesson that talked about place value from ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands, I really recommend that you watch it before you watch this video. If you already saw it, look for a great session together today. So, if you notice here, compared to our last session, we have a decimal point and numbers afterwards. Well, the thing is I read it a little bit differently. This decimal place is probably the most important thing. The number right before the decimal place is known to be my ones, always and forever. The number before my decimal place. In fact, if there is just a number, there is an invisible decimal place right after my ones. That can be invisible. So we want to keep that in mind when we're writing our numbers. So let's take a look at these two problems. 236.71. Well, if I said my decimal place is the most important thing, I'm going to keep my decimal place and line it up right here. Everything else, I'm following it into the categories. So now I'm going to ask you, where is the 7 in that number? 7/10. If you notice, the way it works after the decimal place is it's always just going to add a THS, a th, right after the word. So there is no ones. There's no such thing. But if we have ones, here we have 7/10. And the reason we say they're tenths is because it's the same thing as saying 7/10, the fractions that we're used to. So we have 7 out of 10, and if we had 3 more, it would make a whole. So there is no such thing as ones because, well, that would be a whole one. So 7/10. So based on that, what do you think this 1 is? We have 1/100ths. If I wanted to think of it as a fraction, I have 1/100th. That's always true, I promise you. Now, I want you guys to think about it. If this is tenths and this is hundredths, what do you think the next category will be? I'll give you a clue. Thousandths. And guess what? It'll always continue to go in that order because right bigger than thousands is 10,000s, and right smaller than thousandths is 10,000ths. The pattern continues. So we're going to keep working with that pattern in order to identify our numbers. So we've done this one. So we have 7/10. And in this problem, 21.67. Well, let's line up our decimal place, the most important thing. So decimal place goes there. 6, 7, 1, 2. Where is my 7? What value? Hundredths. So we have 21, and we read it as if it was before the decimal place, just 21. And now the decimal place, we use the word and. You never, ever, ever should say the word and until you get to the decimal place. So again, that's 21 and, now how do you read this number? 67/100ths. We always follow the name of the smallest term. So that's how we do this part. Let's try this last one. I know it's not on your worksheet, but I figure you can follow along with me. Now, if you notice, I changed my little table that I had from before. So what I'm going to do now is I need to put that 47 somewhere. Remember, there is an invisible decimal point right there. So I'm going to take that, line it up with my invisible decimal point, and write 47. So I have 47. That's it. Now, I'm going to work with you on how to read within using our proper place values, okay? Let's erase the board. So, let's write this number. Now, remember, we're kind of going to ignore anything that comes after the decimal point. So, how do I read this number right here? If you said 37, you're right. So let's write that down. 37. Notice how I put that dash right there, okay? That tells me it's a combined term. We put them together, 37. Now, the decimal place, we use the word and. Super important, okay? So we need that word and. Now, what place value did I go to at the end of that statement there? What place value was the last one there? If you said hundredths, you're right. So how is this number read? 21. So 21 hundredths. Now, if you know how to spell hundred, you know how to spell hundredths because we're just adding a THS to the end. So let's read it together. 37 and 21 hundredths because that last value is in the hundredths value. One more. Well, remember, we kind of separate before the decimal place and after. So how do we read this number before? That's right, 4. Spelled F-O-U-R. And remember, the decimal point is the word and. So it's 4 and. Now, what place value was the last one we went to? Tenths. And how do we read that? 4. So it's 4 tenths. So we read this as 4 and 4 tenths. That's it. Let me know if you need help. By the way, I've added the supplemental worksheet to the links into my video. So if you need and you want to see a place value chart, feel free to print it out. Bye.